Hi, and welcome back to the C Morning Show, everyone. We're almost at the halfway point of our program, which has brought us to our first discussion of the day. Now, as you know, Indonesia is set to hold our next general elections on February the 14th of next year. The polls will decide on the country's president, vice president, the People's Consultative Assembly, which consists of the House of Representatives and the Regional Representative Council, along with members of the local legislative bodies.
Wow, that's going to be a lot of homework for us, the voters. And according to the data, the 17 to 39 age demographic is set to make up 60% of the voters in the 2024 general elections. That's huge. And yet, distrust, knowledge gaps are still high. But there's an organization called Bijak Memilih that aims to help the public to vote wisely. That's why there is Bijak Memilih, or wisely voting. What is Bijak Memilih? So to know the answer, here in the studio, one of our favorite guests and also my friend, Andhyta Utami, she's already here. She is the initiator of Bijak Memilih, also known as Afu. Good morning, Afu. Thank you so much for being here.
Welcome back.
Yeah, such a pleasure to come back here. It hasn't been 2 months.
It hasn't been 2 months?
Yeah.
Oh my God, it's too long. It's too long. We have to have you here soon. So I heard about this from your colleague probably about a month ago, Abigail. She mentioned this and I thought, what a great idea. So please explain, what is Bijak Memilih and how does it work?
Yes, so Bijak Memilih is a tech-enabled movement that focuses on users, in this case voters, so that they can vote in a more informed way easily. So it literally translates as choose wisely or vote wisely, as you mentioned earlier. But the point is, we know that there are a lot of Indonesian youth out there who want to choose wisely, who are curious, they used to care, but then they're frustrated, or they're
and then they stop caring,
and then they stop caring. So we want to remove all the mental blockers for these voters who are already, headed that way, but because of the information flood that they find on social media and everywhere, makes it difficult for them to choose wisely. So it's basically the crux of the movement is the website and the social media accounts that we have, where we provide hassle-free, to the point information about the issues that young people care about and how politics will how the political parties have been voting for or against those issues.
Yes.
So let's say we have like 6 key issues on the website. One is the climate crisis, because that's so important. Then we have education, health, employment. That's huge for young people as well. The civil rights, freedom of speech, and then the minority rights. Within those 6 kind of like big umbrella issues, there are sub-issues, and the team is a combination. I really love this part because we're really a mix of, let's say, the policy wonks, like those people who really have been following news and like understand all these issues, with the, let's say, startup sis and bros, who are really like the coders. Yeah, exactly. Who are the coders who are able to build this really beautiful website, which you will see later. And we want to, basically the policy wonks make the issues much more easier to digest, so that people are more informed. And the tech bros and sis, are the ones who really, oriented towards users and think about how we, iterate in building the website as we move forward. So
it's wonderful. I actually want to play with it a little bit. So this is Bijak Memilih, right? So wonderful, beautiful, beloved audience members. If you want to check this out, you can go to www.bijakmemilih.id. This is the first page. This is the landing page, right?
Yes, correct.
And soon enough, you basically have, you can explain.
Sure. So you can just scroll. This is just to emphasize the urgency of young people under 40 who are, that's the Indonesian definition of young people, by the way.
Right. Oh, I'm no longer young.
No, I don't qualify. I'm not part of the 60%.
Still young. We are, let's say we developed the website in 3 phases. Now we're just entering the first phase, which is Bijak Memilih Isu, or choose the issues wisely, where we point out what are the political parties' position on key issues.
Right. For example?
These are the 3 examples. So on energy transition, freedom of speech, and the protection of informal workers. So you can click on lihat topik lainnya, see other topics. Nah, so these are the 6, big topics that I mentioned earlier, which based on surveys are what young people care about. You can click on one of them. What do you care about, Marissa?
Oh, education.
Yeah, I was going to say, please,
Absolutely.
education.
Yeah. So right now, we're still developing the cards, but for now, for education, what we focus on is education on reproductive health, for example. So when you click on that, maybe we can see other issues first.
Right, maybe, what about,
of,
hang on. If I go back, for example.
Sure.
If I go back here and, people care about freedom of expression or
Sure.
freedom of giving opinions, right?
Yeah.
So, okay, here we have...
So you can read the description. Why is this issue important in the first place? What are the regulations or laws that are related to this issue? But more importantly, let's say, now I care about this issue.
Yes.
I wasn't aware before, but now I know how it's important. But then what do you need to know, right? You need to know how have the parties been voting for or against this issue? Which parties are actually more aligned with your stance? Because maybe some people are for freedom of expression, some are probably less, so we don't try to endorse either of the positions, but we want to show both. So you can see which parties are setuju or for.
Oh, you split them up.
I mean, you can click on the
check it out.
or maybe on revisi UITE or if you want to click.
Example, you can see
those
the
are just
parties.
examples, and then the same. So you can see.
Wow.
And you can learn. I think the point is not necessarily so that you conclude at the end, but at least you started getting primed that politics can be about issues, about policy issues, instead of about identities.
Well,
we need that shift.
For me, it's a bit of a reverse way of thinking, where all of this time we would have to look into each party and see which exactly what it is that they support line by line, as opposed to just, hey, let's just do it reverse. What do you care about? And then let's see which parties fit your needs, and then you can start to filter it out, right?
Yeah, and this is why informed decisions, right?
Yes.
Those 2 words are so important and have been very important. But me, myself, the last election, especially when we had to vote for our DPR members or our legislative members, to be honest, it was almost cap cip chup for me. Cap cip chup meaning in Indonesian is wow, okay.
Like shot in the dark.
Don't know. Yeah, it's okay, maybe I'll just choose the party that I like.
Right.
But then the people, I'm not sure, but I guess I'll just do that. Because I did not have this.
Exactly. And that's the part where I mentioned it's very user-oriented, right? Because some websites have been launched in the past where they have information on the parties or on the specific individual candidates. But if you think about the users, why would they go, if they didn't care before, why would they go to a website and find out? They don't even know what they need to find out about.
And then you would have to read everything, right?
Yeah, exactly. And then you end up, it's like an information flood again.
Yes.
You can't really make decisions based on, it's too much information, basically.
Right.
But the question would be then, what if I don't know what I care about in the first place?
Yes.
So it's a great website if you already know.
Yes.
Marissa knows she cares about education.
Yes.
But what if I don't know what I care about?
Yeah.
So that's why that's yes.
Boom, quiz.
So we will help you find out what you care about.
So you can't fail this quiz.
No, you can't. Yeah.
Do you want to actually try to answer? It's pretty quick.
Okay. Yeah, sure.
Should be quick.
Go ahead. Let's give it a try.
This is what sort of strategic issue do you care about?
Yeah. So
And
we
then
have 4 points basically. If it's not too important,
It's a range, right?
Yeah, it's a range.
Okay. From
Shall
most
we?
important to not so important.
Yeah.
Okay.
Boom.
So let's try it
Again,
out.
this is still an alpha version, so it's not yet perfect. But let's say, do you care that there is equal distribution of quality education?
Absolutely. Yes.
So absolutely would be
Yes,
4.
4.
Okay. And then
I have a sense that Paul will answer 4 for all.
Yeah.
He will care about all.
Yes.
oh, yes.
Number 1. So the reduction of sugar and tobacco products.
Yeah.
And to reduce high risk. Yes. Very important.
which?
4.
4.
I'm at a 4
Wow,
for this.
okay.
I love the little emoticons, by the way. The monkeys, the see no evil here. Kasus kekerasan yang berpihak kepada.
This is
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
4 or 3?
4.
4.
Oh, I'm a 4 for this.
Yeah.
Pekerja lepas.
Yeah.
So freelance and informal workers protection.
Well, considering I am a freelancer, 4. I'm sorry. A little personal there.
Yeah. Harvest failures and floods.
Our food supply.
Oh.
Yeah. Food supply. You have 3 kids and a beautiful wife.
Okay, 4. Okay,
There.
you're absolutely right, Apu.
Freedom of expression on social media.
No, I'm at a 2.
Interesting.
Oh,
That's
there you
interesting.
go. corruption eradication.
I would say 3.
3,
Yeah.
okay.
Less as anggaran pemerintah yang efisien untuk.
And
Can you
your
explain that
tax
one a little
money.
bit? Ooh.
Yeah.
Use of your tax money.
Your tax money is
3. Number 3.
Okay, for me it's 4.
Yeah.
Okay, so what would that tell me?
Boom, Paul.
Yeah. So okay, this is not perfect because I think we're still cracking how people like Paul, who like care about everything, cares about. But typically, if I think like in the next iteration we want to make the questions better, but basically it will come up with something like this.
Okay.
Yeah.
So like the starter pack. Like if you're the climate activist starter pack because you care like most about the climate change stuff, it will show up something differently.
Yeah.
And then basically it's like a personality test where it says like,
Love
kamu sedih banget. You would feel sad whenever there is like a minority that's being, discriminated, and you believe every person has freedom and so on.
Yeah.
It's again like it's still under development, but the idea is when there's someone has like a clear stance on like what they care about, it will show up. And at least even like if you end up caring about everything, now you are primed to think about, oh yeah, I do care about like all of these different issues, and then you go to the main like page again, and then now you know like, oh, those are like the issues out there, and like I actually care about all of them, and then now I can find out how the political parties have.
And then you can start to match which political party shows up the most for the issues that I care about the most.
Exactly. That's it.
It's so great, isn't it?
It is.
Finally, a solution.
Steps to follow, like easier steps to follow. Because I was like you, I was flying blind a little bit. So what is the risk? Like when you started this initiative, the thought process behind it, what is the risk of a person between the age of 18 to 39? Because Marissa and I still voted anyway, despite all the confusion. What is the risk?
We gotta.
Are you worried more about people than just not voting because thinking, oh, it's just too much to handle, or voting incorrectly? What would be more dangerous?
The second one.
Yes.
So the keyword that we heavily focus on is informed. We think that we believe that people have agency and like capacity to decide if they're equipped with the right information.
Right.
Yes.
So we really want to shift the conversation from like a more identity-focused, campaign process towards one that is more issue-focused. And we think that so on the one hand, we do want to inform the voters, but this is also our way to influence the politicians in the first place so that they talk about issues. Because I think for so long, because they know that they can get away with it, they know that people don't really talk about issues, they end up not talking about issues, right? So this is our way of, trying to change the conversation. And if you see the coalition started taking form, you see that there's not really clear stance on like which presidential candidates or the coalition of parties are taking. It's not clear, right? And
it's all about the identity of
it ends up being the transactions, who will likely win, and their personalities, which is completely fine. And we understand that you cannot really completely remove that from politics.
That's how it's always been kind of
thing. It's always been about personality to some extent, right? But we think that there's a balance to be achieved, and we're definitely not there yet. And it's like much more heavily on the persona side than on the issue side. So we just want to shift the balance a little bit, right? Like, yes, you can still care about the personas, their track records. Of course, those are important. But at least now you know how they think about climate change, or how they will solve the unemployment issue. Things like that.
How do you make sure, like, I have 2 questions about this. This is a fantastic website, but how do you make sure, because not everyone has cell phones. Well, I would like to say, is that true? Or is that
or not everyone uses it to, what it should be, right? Watching YouTube.
Exactly. How do you make sure that everyone or all of the voters are going to have access to this wonderful invention that you and your team have made?
Yeah. So the way that apps work as well, sometimes you think of the firstly early adopters first.
Yes.
You know that before an app gets on everybody's phone, there's a bunch of like this specific group who will adopt the apps first, right? So that's also how we think about it. Like we think that the anchor, the early adopters would be let's say young, middle class, educated, non-specialist, urban people, and it's okay. Like we understand that we cannot reach everyone right now, but we think that they're the demographics that we have access to. First of all, they have more influence. Like a bunch of them are also influencing, other people who are following them, and so that's the people that we focus on. We created this persona. This guy right here is our Hilmi. We come up with a persona like probably fresh graduates from campus, somewhat already cares about some of these issues, maybe understood or felt frustrated in the 2019 Reformasi di Korupsi movement.
Yes.
So he's aware, but he needs more information in terms of like how does politics work in Indonesia.
Yes.
And some of the Hilmis might know more about American politics, right? Just because they're much more easily somewhat accessed, maybe like also the way that politics in the US perhaps like talks about issues, the stances are somewhat clearer. So these are the demographics that we want to let's say like resonate better with by making also like showing these are the issues in Indonesia, which will be different from the US because some of them might be really fluent in like American racism, but they don't understand what's going on with minority rights in Indonesia. Like it's so important. So we want to give them the language, just laying out the political landscape for them so that they can we can hook them. But then starting from there, we also have the offline events, and we engage social media influencers to spread the words basically. So we work with Abigail, who is also the other co-initiator who should be here, has What Is Up Indonesia.
Yes.
So basically What Is Up Indonesia and Think Policy are collaborators behind this platform. But we also engage Andovi, Kev Intan, all these like TikTokers who have like much bigger outreach. And then we also organize the offline events outside Jakarta and hopefully also outside Java so that we can engage even more people.
That's wonderful.
Most recently, we're very happy that we've been talking to KPU, the General Elections Committee.
Yes. What did they say?
They endorse this. They're very happy with with this initiative because political education is also part of their mandate, their mission, and they think that we are helping them to achieve this. And basically, we're now kind of their partners.
Great.
It's fantastic.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I also love about this website, I mean, this is super simple, super clean. You have all the facts there, but also the way you choose the language. It's
Easier
not
to
like
digest.
super formal.
Right.
I love how you say sedih banget and all that. I mean, it's like, what was the thinking behind such easy...
Simplifying.
Yeah, simplifying and informal language.
Yeah, so as I mentioned earlier, it's really because we're thinking about the users. When you start from there, you start developing everything based on how you think the users will relate to the content, right? So like the clean design, the language, everything is because we developed the personas. And actually, other than Hilmi, if you scroll, there's another person, Rati.
Oh, where's Rati?
Who is this? I'm not sure if it's on this page, but scroll down, I think. Before, down.
Oh,
sorry.
Is this Rati?
No.
No, not Rati.
This.
Hello.
Hey, I love her. Hi, Rati.
So she's the millennial. So Hilmi is the Gen Z.
Right.
Rati is the millennial in her 30s, early 30s probably. Already has a little kid probably, has like a job in the city, commutes to work, either in the car or like KRL.
I think I know Rati.
Yeah.
I know Rati anyway, yeah, definitely.
You know Rati.
A version of her, yeah, definitely.
And I mean, she's also an important demographic, right, to engage, and we want to make it even easier for the Ratis of Indonesia to access the information. So we developed the personas and like.
I think going back to, glad you gave a shout out to What Is Up Indonesia, because going back to that, a lot of what I learned about the certain issues that were the hot topics at the moment for Indonesia, because the Indonesian language is still quite difficult for me to digest.
Yes.
Is actually,
Even until now.
is actually What Is Up Indonesia, because it helps me understand like the little intricacies of the rules, because it actually simplifies it, and that goes to show that simplifying language can help people like me digest it a lot easier.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So in the next phases of this platform, basically, I mentioned earlier, one is we want to make the English version available because we understand. So the audience of What Is Up Indonesia is whom we want to cater, and like we understand that even though we've made it simpler, but it's still in Indonesian. So that's like one. Secondly, the one right now is bijak memilih isu, or like choose issue wisely. In the next two phases, we will launch bijak memilih partai. Or choose the parties wisely. So that's where you find out more information about the parties. So you start with the issue, then you know which parties are somewhat more aligned with your
then you learn more about
stance,
the
and then you
party.
learn more about the party.
But that would be a different website or a different
On
page?
this website.
On
So
this
it's like a new feature that we will launch. So we divide it into 3 phases basically. And then finally, bijak memilih candidate. That's the presidential
So
candidate.
you're breaking it down even further.
Yes, exactly. But we want to prime it, like start it with the issues and then like go there in phases.
When are you going to launch the second and the third phase?
Hopefully early, end of Q2. So basically end of June or
End of
early
June.
July. And then for the presidential candidate is after the like official like announcement from the presidential candidates, which is in November, if I'm not mistaken.
Wow. So will you have also some legislative members as well? I mean, the candidates? Because
So-
that's my
That's your where things get a little muddy.
Who are you again?
Yeah, that's where the collaboration is really important. So when it comes to the individual candidates, because that's not where we're focusing on, we know that there are other websites where you can find out about that.
Okay.
So even the KPU official website will
Yes.
have those information. So once you know, again, like the issues you care about and the party that is more aligned with your vision, then you can find out within that party which candidates
Yes.
are, more, representing your, your values or.
So it's the homework that we have to do.
Yes,
A
but
little
we
bit
make it somewhat already easier, hopefully.
Yes, yes,
A lot
yes.
easier. And so what's important also is, this is the truth that not a lot of people talk about, is political parties have such like big influence, more than any individual candidates.
Seriously.
Yeah, so that's why we're focusing on like just choose the party wisely more than the individual candidates, because even for example, if the party is, let's say, what's the word I would use? Yeah, not perfect.
Who's perfect, right?
Yeah, sure. And when there is like a candidate or like a legislative member whose stance is different from the party, they can actually be removed. So like the party alignment,
Right.
fraksi, like the fraction or the coalition within DPR is very powerful because at the end of the day, they're the one that informed the stance. If you've seen some clips from sometime before Lebaran, there's like one political party member. I was saying, if our Ketua Umum doesn't approve this of the party, then I will not vote for or against. It's really depending on the Ketua Umum, of the chairwoman of the party, for example.
I see. So that's how.
So that's also part of the political education, because I think some people think that as long as they vote the right candidate, that's all what matters, right?
Not really.
But it's a bit more
necessarily.
complicated than that.
Yes.
Okay. Well, real quick, one thing I wanted to touch on was social media played such a big part in our previous elections. In fact, good and bad, you
Yeah.
would argue. And is this going to be somewhat of a strategy to kind of help
Counter.
clear out, counter that, like misinformation for one?
Yes.
I mean, obviously, if people want to get the right information, it would be very difficult in the past because you'd be over-informed by social media. But people are getting smarter these days. What do you foresee happening this time around, the role of social media? Because obviously you place an
Definitely.
importance on social media. You've
Yes,
invited
exactly.
influencers to be part of this movement as
Yes,
well.
definitely. We think it will be the blood that gets the movement moving. And the way that social media works, right, it incentivizes extremist point of views, because that's the ones
Correct.
that gets most clicks, that's the ones that gets viral. So understanding how the logic of social media works will really be important for this movement to succeed in the first place and counter all of those forces from the other side. But also secondly, understanding the right language for the audience that you want to talk to. And for the longest time, so us at Think Policy, because we're mostly basically young professionals in public policy, we speak the policy lingo, but we might not be the most fluent in memes. For example. It's a whole other level of creativity and language. It's a different language. So when we launched the alpha version of the website on March 19th, we were like, what is up in Indonesia and Think Policy, we were discussing about how to launch it and like preparing some slides. Abigail was like, I got a meme guy. Let's just make the slides in memes.
Okay.
So no text whatsoever.
Yes.
Because that's how you, when you present policy, like you have text and pictures, right? But she was like, no, let's just, what are the 5 key points you want to say, you want to talk about? I'll share it to my meme guy. And then the meme guy, the next morning, came up with 5 brilliant memes. One involving Jon Snow, Thanos, all of this things that I don't even, some people think that the policy wonks are smart, but I think this meme guy is the real genius.
A brilliant strategy, isn't it?
Yeah, so actually speaking the language of memes and reels, like how to make TikToks. That's like a very different world altogether. And so we invest in that to make sure that the content are homegrown and actually relatable to the audience.
Great.
Right. Just very quickly, what are your hopes for the general election in 2024?
Yeah, well, we hope that because we've seen what happened in 2019 and before, we hope that at least Bijak Memilih can make a dent in starting the conversation to be about issues. We think that What Is Up Indonesia and Think Policy have started, raising awareness on the policy issues as a movement, as a long-term movement. But this particular year is very momentous, right? It's the year where, again, people under 40 are, majority voters, a significant chunk of Gen Z and millennial voters. So we want it to be different. We want it to look different. We want it to look like this clean, nice website, which at least will be about issues, which will actually not use young people just as a token. Because they're like just passive voters that you can manipulate and you can
numbers,
get,
right?
Yeah, just numbers, but actually engage us meaningfully. Ask about what we care about, and hopefully the presidential candidates especially can really talk to or have a plan for solving a lot of these issues that we're still facing.
It's working already. You've got me looking at this particular election differently. Yeah, because at least now I have point of references. I know where to look when I want to look at certain issues and things like that.
That's very heartening to hear.
Afu, it's great to have you on as always, and great to see you.
So much.
Guys, make sure you check out bijakmemilih.id to check it out for yourself. We're going to take a short break here on the C Morning Show. When we return, in case you joined us late, we're going to update you and recap some of our earlier news when we return.
Thanks so much, Apple.